I know Ryan will probably be
And I was trying to.
chiming in here.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm just a little.
Thank you, Ryan.
And I just, I want to get him home so he can get a decent night's sleep, because he's got the orchestra moving. So that's the reason the band shell was all set up. You know,
Same players were there last night. Somebody signed for it?
if you were
Yeah, we could.
50, okay.
On the floor.
I mean, pretty much.
There were still some, BZA, one point Ryan said he was closing things up from BZA and
Okay.
EPS, but I didn't see him come in
Okay.
while I was there, so. Walked right by you.
I know, I see. I didn't know whether you said with him or not.
No, I, just the intro and some of the talking, and then I had to go to the 7 o'clock meeting. So.
He does a good job, except he got his 75 foot on each side
Oh,
with the gal from Gas City,
yeah, Trina.
Emily.
Emily, okay, Trina and Emily are together, yes.
Straightened you out.
Yes, she did. I always like to be straightened out,
She's
because I can't know everything.
well, you're getting better.
Well, thank you, Ken. That's a compliment. I'm in.
Um,
Getting better.
Really, I thought it was a nice little deal,
All right, well, thank you so much. And I'm glad you came.
but I was very, very disappointed.
uh-oh.
There was no more people there than there was.
The first guy to talk threw a curveball that I had never thought about. And I don't know if you caught this or ever considered it or not, Kenny, but he suggested that farms could go independent if they just used approximately 20% for solar, and they could keep the family farm going longer because of the excessive income off the 20%. I'd never thought about it.
Well,
Did you catch that?
I didn't.
That stuck out to me like, oh my goodness, that I've never even thought about that. But again,
if it pays, what they say.
yeah, triple the cash.
Well,
Great, but
both of you. I know. Now you asked a question. And when you asked it, I didn't figure the answer, but what's his name from,
Hey, Raymond, here's your.
APAC? Dalton from APAC. Got up there, and I don't know for sure, was it 8 farms or 12 in the county that they've got signed
I
up?
think so. I think I heard. Mark, were you there for that one as well? The question?
no, not that
I
question.
think I heard 8, 12. And I don't know if I got the other one, but it was 6 or 7. So 8, 16, 12, 28.
No, they're in over 8 or 10 or 12 in the whole county that signed up. Okay. And
Well, I've talked to at least 7 personally.
that signed up,
Is that just on one farm setting or
No,
different?
no, different settings.
let me ask you a question. Is it a dirt farmer or is it somebody that's inherited the ground?
So one project, I went around with a landowner and a farmer. And, the farmer's giving up, I don't know how many acres. I think he might have shared that with me. I just can't
Yeah,
pull it up. But, you know, his logic was he was trying to diversify his portfolio of ground. And then the other landowner, the farmer actually farmed the landowner's farm that was driving around with us. And, he didn't seem upset at all that he was gonna lose that for cash crop. That makes sense. And so, that particular project is still fairly far away from getting the acreage that they need. They don't know if they'll make it or not. You know, again, people either not wanting to participate. I don't think the farmer wants to give up any more of his land. And when we drove that one, I was taking a look also because they were showing me where this was. And there, out of the land that I saw there, there was probably about 6 farms that I would consider
What you were needing.
that,
That's what I was looking for.
Good.
like, out the front door, type thing,
I
across the
didn't see
drive.
the date
like
and
that,
the subject until like.
Setbacks and stuff. So I was looking at all that.
minutes later. I was like,
going
oh
through and
man,
stuff.
I see what you're saying.
And so again, there's all kinds of stopgaps. Whether that's the BZA, whether that's the drainage board, whether that's the county council on tax abatement. We've got all kinds of tools in the tool belt
Stop.
to make sure that those people are taken care of when it comes right down to it. In other words, if we don't necessarily like the way
I'd rather not.
that they laid it out, yeah, you're to the ordinance. However, what
But
can
I
you
get
do
ready for that
to make
one.
sure we're taking care of this one home? What can, or 2 homes, right? And oh, by the way, if you do want tax abatement, you gotta take care of this. If you don't, we won't grant you tax abatement.
Yeah.
So those are some tools. Would you agree kind of with that, Mark?
That's part of the economic development, that's
Right.
the extra hook that we've got.
Okay.
So we got
I'll
some,
change that. and you can
we got
recycle it.
some, to me, we can force the issue some. And again, the drainage board, you guys play a key role in this whole thing.
They got a key role. Hey, did you know on 50th Street where IWU's got that big building that they bought there years ago and they're all,
Off of Star Financial,
Oh,
the
yeah,
old Star Financial.
it's for sale.
I know it's for lease. I didn't know they put it up for sale finally. Because
That's the old Star building.
It's the old
that's
stuff.
the old headquarters.
That's correct.
That's what it is. It was the Wesleyan Methodist headquarters back in the 60s.
Right,
and
and
70s.
Star bought it off of them.
Well,
Now, Indiana Wesleyan's 3-story building's not for sale,
No,
but yeah, the other one's empty. The
But
old.
that's where they
Star-
want to put their 40 acres of solar array.
that's what Ken was saying.
okay.
Well, I don't know that they really, I know at one point, Dr. Wright was talking about leasing it out, but maybe
Oh, maybe they're leasing it. right?
they've decided to try and liquidate that particular building.
Do they own ground behind that then?
Mhm. Up to where the,
They own
remember,
that gold Marcus farm there then?
you've got whatever some of that farm ground is, I think it's in Beans right now. And then you've got the Wimmer property that's trying to be sold, the old Wimmer property.
Oh, yeah, Bob, what her
Yeah,
built.
because
I'm trying to remember.
that's what the opening to the Lomax, that's why we're still holding on to the Lomax there, is because we've got that acreage that's dumping into it.
That John.
Those three green, not green ponds.
Okay, I know,
Heritage.
I know where the Wimmer farm's at,
University.
but there's ground in behind that building
Yep.
there.
Mhm.
And there's a field in there probably joins up with the Wimmer farm.
Yeah, butts up to the Wimmer, and then
I was gonna say something.
I want to say they want $2 million that they wanted for the Wimmer property.
What,
I think they wanted $2 million for it.
Well, that's what.
How many acres?
how many acres is it?
I don't know. It's just to the south there of, the new housing addition, and I assume they think that's going to be commercialized. So that's why they're asking for $2 million for it.
Well, Joanne Chloe owned that.
Solar panels and windows.
Joanne King and Chloe Patterson.
We are past the start time. We all are present. We have a quorum, so we're going to call the Grant County Drainage Board to order September 13. Again, noting all members are present. And we will move right to the claims, Jim. First one's minutes.
How about minutes?
Oh, sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
I was looking at the big money. Who's got the minutes in front of them?
Here. I'll make a motion.
Up for Mr. Gates,
I'll second.
second, Mr. Pinkerton. Any questions, comments, editorial changes?
I just, the part where you guys discussed what to have Kyle do, in my understanding that he was to write a registered letter to those people. Mary's researched it. She's got a copy of the Indiana drainage right-of-way laws. We'll include that in his letter. And just so they get another, me and Mary's wrote that letter for quite a few years now, every year, and they're kind of ignoring us. So that was my understanding of what he was to do, and I wanted to clarify that with you guys today. And I haven't had a chance to read the minutes, you know. I had a chance the other day when I got sidetracked.
Right. Do we feel like we need to, adjust that at all?
We got a vote on that.
I thought you guys voted on it last meeting. On having Kyle send the letter. Mary's got all the names.
We did.
Oh, yeah. What he has to.
I just thought we'd take him the minutes, he could read those and he could come up with his own, and then along with the Indiana code that he could read. And he'd put his own letter together, you know.
Okay.
I didn't want to give him anything second.
Is that all right with the intent of our? Okay.
Me and Raymond talked to some of them. We measured the whole area and put 40-foot flags at every shed, every fence. The lady at the end was real nice. The contractor said he'd be there in about a month. And that's when we done it about a week ago. So it's about 3 weeks now. And she was gonna hire private fence people to move the fence back, you know, and because the ditch bends there a little bit, when we measured off from the top of the bank, it looks like this. So I saw her, she don't want her fence going like that, you know, keep it straight, but keep it back from the 40 feet. I also met the city engineer, and he's wrote a nice letter to everybody on that private drain that goes to that has a recorded easement. And he asked if it was okay to put my name at the end and a phone number to better explain the platted drawing, you know, and the reason for the easement. And I told him, okay, so.
City engineer didn't give you any trouble?
No, he had a nice letter altogether when he comes see me.
That's good.
I
Right.
just wanted to include me in it, which is okay.
All right, we have a motion with support. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye. Aye. Those no, abstaining. It is unanimous. All right, now let's pay some bills.
Okay, and down here on Aaron Newby, discussion of chairman's pre-approval. I talked to Mark, but John Woods had come back in when we raised this maintenance here a while back, and we knew we were gonna put it in the red about a year. And then, when contractor called me, I just wanted to make sure, I talked to Mark, and I just wanted to make sure to remind everybody that we were already obligated to fix the last 800 feet or 1,000 feet. It's the outlet we're working on that's collapsing, making it bad for everybody in the watershed. The first one's right-of-way management, $3,910 for Weasel Creek, $137,857 in the fund. That was to spray it this year. Grant County Treasurer, $35. Loan from General Drain Improvement Fund to maintenance. And this is the one on the Aaron Newby. John's Repair Service, $10,920 on the Aaron Newby. There's $8,884.37 in the fund. And now the $10,920, that covers the tile. Once he dug it up and discovered what was needed. This includes the tile, and then he's going to install it as soon as the ground dries out, and we'll allow him to install it. It's going to take about a year for the fund to pay back. We raised it from $5 to $7.50. Randy Atkins was here a while back. He's on the end of this drain. He's the last to drain. Nobody objected to the raising of the maintenance.
My pre-approval was based solely on why go back and get back into it when we can do it at the same time. And so that's why I went ahead and made that pre-approval, but we do need your blessing.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, we're taking the extra out of general drainage improvement.
Right. But we had that hearing here a few months ago.
Yeah.
It's going to cover it.
Move we pay these claims.
Mr. Cox, second Mr. Goff. If you want to do discussion, that's fine.
As if we don't do the pre-approval.
We're in bad shape.
Then I have to go probably hat in hand to the council and say,
Money, I need some money.
then they're gonna say, well, you got money. Well,
Yeah, does that need to be in the motion too?
Well, it's under new business, but can we just do it here?
I mean, technically, we've discussed it, and if you made that part of the motion, it's not a question, because we're.
You have a problem with that, Gordon? If we add that to the motion?
And so the home site's $100.
We want to add the pre-approval to the motion.
All righty. We haven't voted yet, have we?
No.
All right. We want to discuss that. That's the exception on the rule. We usually don't do that. We hardly ever do it unless we have to with regular invoices, but this made sense with Jim calling us and saying we need to get this done at the same time. So, there. All right, ready to vote? All those in favor would say aye. 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 It is carried. You're off the hook.
Thank you.
You know, I come to every commissioner meeting and I have to ask them for pre-approvals, ratifications.
David White helped us out on the end of this, and next spring, they're gonna be in the best shape they've been in probably 30 years.
Good. All right, under old business, Little Creighton Pond, that's the area that we're still, that's inside the city limits. Don't believe Mr. Connor or Mr. Persinger have talked about that here lately.
I think we need to jack them up. We've let this ride long enough. Not going to get in trouble again, so we need to get the resolution. I don't know how to get it.
They might have some more trees there.
Yeah, waiting for the rest of the trees to die.
Yeah. Have you and Chuck by any chance talked about that at all?
Only in that it's, the attorneys are supposed to be talking about it, but I mean, nobody's heard anything, and I
I
don't
will
know.
email Connor in person here today.
I mean, we may need another meeting to discuss what the questions were.
Okay. Why the attorneys have never-ending jobs.
Pat had a good idea that all need to be enclosed in a large tile. You know, you could have a manhole where the 224s come in, a large tile and grass that all in.
That would probably make.
Take it all around Miller Avenue,
Yeah, that'd make them happy if.
have a little head wall
they
there,
didn't have to-
I like to pipe things.
no more maintenance.
There's still maintenance, but
Yeah,
Until you want
you're
to.
not dealing with open ditches.
Right.
Open ditches environmentally are better, but for maintenance and, yeah,
that has quite a bit of fall to it, so that water could really move.
because, I mean, people won't take care of the ditch themselves.
Now, you still have to slope the ground so surface water kind of run off and hopefully not create a channel.
All right, let's go to Hummel Creek here for a couple moments. We have notified the owner of the amount of money he owes. And in our process, can you remind us, Jim, exactly how long before we do a public hearing now? on that?
And when is that date set, Mary?
November 29th.
No, we're talking about,
Oh, for the other one, I'm sorry, October 11th.
October 11th.
And he did receive the notice because I received a certified. And you all have copies of everything that was sent to him.
With regard to that public hearing, and since it's a public hearing of one, if he does not show, what would our next step be?
Pass it on through and wait 20 days for the remonstrance. Take it to get certified by the auditor.
should put a notice in the paper after the public hearing.
And we do not, I talked to Joe, we do not have to advertise for it because since it is one person and I did the certified where they have to sign for it, we don't have to advertise because that's for people that might not have gotten a notice and they'll see it in the paper. But
Okay.
Joe said we do not need to.
Good. So we are in motion and the light at the end of the tunnel is not the train coming at us. We've already been hit by the train. Now we're just getting ready to take care of
And then,
couping of some of our funds.
right, and the other set maintenance hearing date, the whole office has worked on this. We have 4,693 acres in that watershed. That's 162 homes. We have an assessment roll here to vote on today that would be $5 an acre, $50 home site, a $10 minimum, and commercial structures $50. Like the home sites, and there's only 2 commercial structures. Home sites at $50 would bring in $8,100 a year. The ditch tax would bring in $23,468. That would bring in an annual assessment of $31,900 with a 4-year cap at $127,603, which it won't shut off in 4 years because there's a lot of work to do out there. But the first year or two, if it passes maintenance and there's nobody remonstrance, me and Raymond's gonna go out, start walking it. We'll send a notice to the landowners. We'll be passing through their property. We'll go out and record all the log jams that look like they're gonna stay there, the big ones. And then we've got to figure out how to get a contractor in, because some of them subdivisions, it's gonna be tricky on how to get in our easement even and cut a little path to them. But then once that's done, those farmers up on the upper ends on the few branch drains that you need to dredge for maybe half a mile or so, 3/4 of a mile, so they could put new tiling in there to outlet their tiles so their tiles would work better. But until the log jams are out of the way on the lower end, they're gonna have to wait a little bit, and we'll hear from them. I know, Mr. Hicks, Jerry Lozier, which he's gone now, this took so long, and, Byron Brankel. There were 3 of the major players that had petitioned us years ago to put this on maintenance. The homeowners aren't really concerned about it that much, other than the few that flooded because of the pipes that were backing up the water.
Down on the lower end.
Yeah, they're all up on pretty high ground. We'll just be trying to figure out how to get in our easement since it's been encroached on. That lower 2 miles from Bocock going north will be tricky. I don't want to cut any more trees down. You know, at one time a surveyor said, we'll cut all the trees down. Well, that'd be $250,000, and that's like a natural creek. You don't want to cut all the trees down on a natural creek and assess the landowners for it. So I never bought that idea from that private land surveyor.
Okay. So walk us through again. You're recommending that it's $5 an acre, $50 per site, $5 minimum?
Or $10 minimum,
And, sorry,
if there's any small parcel out there,
and what was the commercial?
50.
50.
The question on commercial, what's commercial include? 1 acre?
Well, we just left it at an acre, and I know that event
So like the golf course is gonna pay $50 plus.
for their clubhouse, plus $5 for all their
Okay.
acres. And the event center, now that's probably more than an acre,
Yeah, definitely.
but, I didn't know how to do it, how to address it, because he's got other acreage out there that he's gonna be paying also. All his parking lot will be $5 an acre,
Yeah.
just like the farm ground. But at least give him for the main building, like a home site, to be fair.
Where's the event center? There at 5?
The old
Washington Township School,
Yeah, right there on the corner, Washington, it might be 450.
300 east and 450 north.
But that, you know, these people, like Richard was asking, probably if you look in the Indiana code, since back in the pioneer days is when this was touched. And it's been let go, except for the upper ends, it's kind of brushed because the farmers have had to keep it brushed to have drainage. But, you know, we get it on a lower ditch tax and we see how it goes, then if it doesn't work, you know, they could raise it, but we gotta start somewhere. I hate to start high and then get it all turned down. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of houses out there that's not gonna want to pay 50. So if you guys wanted to appease them, we'd come down to 25. 162 homes. So we're gonna get a lot of calls when these notices are.
10%.
They got water. Like,
You guys can't take vacations when these notices go out, so.
Here's my thought, and you tell me if I'm thinking wrong. They kind of had a free ride for years and years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if we're going to have to do special consideration to get around some of the property that they've encroached with buildings or trees, and we're gonna try and help them, I think we're gonna have to stay at that 50. That's just my thought process.
Well, it's like down there at the Farm Bureau drainage board meeting. You got runoff off the roof,
Mhm.
you got sewage, you got, taking a shower, you got water there.
And these all got leach
They
fields,
say, no, my water don't go in the creek, it does.
all leach fields, and hopefully some of the more modern ones have perimeter drains.
Yeah.
Might even be a few straight lines going to the creek.
I hate saying this, I really do, but I might even consider more than $50 since how they're gonna increase the cost so much.
I'd like to start out with 50 grand.
I mean, down there where them houses are and them housing additions, it's gonna.
Yeah, it should be 100.
It's gonna be expensive.
I am not familiar with those particular additions. Do we have housing on both sides of the creek?
No, it's usually one or the other.
Okay, so we either got, wood or,
Wood on both
regular
sides.
agricultural
Yeah,
land.
even if there's houses there, there's wood on both
Right.
sides.
Is it? So we're gonna,
On the Bocox side, it's a real steep bank, so I remember Dave's excavating going in on the low side and taking log jams out of our general fund before when it was bad years ago.
And I actually have drone footage that you can go down the whole Hummel Creek,
wow,
if you ever want to see it.
I do. I want to see that. Mr. Wright does too. He just doesn't want to admit it.
I do.
It's really cool.
I would like to see that. So is it, can you send it in a file or do we need to?
I don't know, I could probably ask IT, it's on one of those little
Okay.
flash things. I don't know how to do that, but they probably do. You want me to just send it to Steve as well?
Yes, please.
I guess.
So we've got, this is the kind of pre-discussion. We don't have a motion yet on the Hummel Creek, public hearing.
Well, like,
And that was the November 29th
Yep.
hearing,
We don't have a November 8th meeting because it's election day.
election day, yes. So if I translated everything that Kenny just said, he just asked for the public hearing on the 29th, on Hummel Creek, 5 acre,
$5 an acre.
$5 an acre, I'm sorry. And $50 a home site, $10, minimum, $50 for commercial with a 4-year cap.
$50 a home site.
Did I say 50?
And there is no small parcels, it's 0 right now, but you know, somebody could split a little something off or sell some of their lot to somebody else or something. It's just we don't want to send out a bill just for $5. That's the bottom line on the Indiana code.
Do you need a hard surface area then for light?
No. I don't want to get into who's got paved driveways and stuff.
Kenny made the motion. Did we have a second?
I can't.
Yes,
I'll second.
okay, Pat Pinkerton made the second, so we can discuss it now. More discussion?
Yeah, I got a question. Anybody got any idea when we took the pipes out? What happened out there?
We didn't take him out.
I mean, when they come out, okay?
He took him out without permits,
Understand that.
without authorization,
Inspections.
without inspection.
What about, when this thing started out 10, 15 years ago, they were gonna take part of the bank off. We're gonna have to haul part of the bank out. We're gonna have to haul dirt and stuff out of there.
I never saw much come out. He built up part of the floodway, made a road out of it. And I thought some of that needed to come out, but
It didn't come out, and see, our plan was to rip wrap that opposite bank that's all eroded and drop trees in the creek, and
yeah.
we've never done that.
IDM is the lead on that now. The obstruction was removed. It wasn't done according to the law, but we don't do the prosecution on that. It's the state that,
I'm aware of
And
that.
when Matt Mead, our engineer, talked to the DNR, she wasn't really concerned that he was operating without permits, so, oh, well, so.
If he pays what.
So I just soon stay off of that, I just soon stay off that property and start making, and the channel was not, it's a 20-foot channel and, maybe he had 5-foot channel. But he's got to build a bridge someday. But you get a rain like, if the ground's saturated, we get a 3-inch rain sometime. That creek will come up deep enough, Mother Nature's gonna make that slot the rest of the way. That'll be down in the lake,
I think
out our easement.
But I just,
our big fight right now is, let's get at least our $80,000 back.
Yeah.
Get what we
I
can,
know.
90,000.
And that includes all the permits and everything, so.
That was the taxpayers' ditch tax fund. It's a shame it had to come out of there.
but I guess I'm just curious to know what it looked like, okay?
Well, we got pictures of when me and Raymond went back there, right as it got
Since he
took out.
took the pipes out?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary's got them.
Okay, well, you guys have been back there since the pipes have been out.
One ton.
Okay.
Tell you a little bit about Greek history.
That would've been
This is
about my
called the
18th or
Pyrrhic
19th.
victory. You know what? The Pyrrhic victory is, we win battles like this and we're gonna lose the war. So we got done what we needed to get done, but we still lost money. We're gonna get back what we can and
You know,
take your loss and go on. But at least we continue to set the state precedent. There is a state precedent now. You cannot put something in like that without direction from the drainage board. That's now case law. So that's good for the state of Indiana. We took it on the nose, but
I'd be surprised if Farm Bureau don't talk about this sometime. One of their drainage 101 meetings.
well, it hasn't been brought to their attention.
No, and the meetings I went to, I was real quiet.
until it got done.
I didn't want to be the guy to bring it up.
All right. So we do have a motion on the floor regarding the Hummel Creek public hearing. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye. Aye. Those abstaining. Abstain. All right, that's carried 4-1 abstention. All right. Next on our review list, we're going to talk about the solar ordinance some. And I need to pull up my email really quick. Mary and I were going back and forth and she says, what do you want? What do you want?
Oh, there's a copy of it in your papers.
Does everybody have a copy of that? Excellent. Because I want to make sure that we do have everything. Yeah, 12/14/2021, and we were talking about what our checklist is going to look like.
He's got one in there.
We said no solar equipment within the maximum drainage easement. And what is that, Kenny? 75 feet.
75 on each side.
That's right.
150.
Total, yeah.
I'd like to make some comments about last night's meeting. Okay?
Sure. If you want to do that before we start discussing that, that's fine.
I thought Steve did a good job of having these guys up there. The lights was a little bright and it's hard to read some of the stuff on the screen. They give their spew on different things. And after we got done, I've talked to this Emily Williams to put in the deal with Gas City. And we've got to be on top of this thing. Drainage board is gonna be very, very important. in This ditch. I talked to this Dalton Carr, who's with Apex. And matter of fact, there's a drawing on one of the ditches over at Swayze. And we was talking about it. He says, I told him, he said, go 100 foot. Now, the thing that maybe you guys don't understand, but if you listen to this Farm Bureau meeting down there, Wendell spoke down there, and after he got done speaking, Tony Corral from Gordon Associates at Bluffton spoke, and there was another woman attorney there. And these people will give on these ditches and so forth. The problem is the farmers knowing where the ditches are. Now, the county tiles and so forth, we can find them. But the problem that I see is that Mary inherited my farm. She lives in Florida. They send her a notice they're gonna pay her $1,000 an acre for the ground. And she can't sign the thing fast enough to get them back. So she gets 1,000 and Gordon's farm, my farm, and she just taken ground away from Gordon. And these guys come in, and the one guy, the T-handle, you remember talking about the T-handle? They're the ones that's supposed to do the probing. You know, I mean, we can point them in the right direction, but anybody here that runs a tile probe,
It's hard
certain
work.
days, it's.
We can't stop them from offering Mary $1,000 and her taking it.
No.
And we can't protect all the private ditches because we have no idea where it
Well,
is.
now, Mary,
Somebody's gotta, well, like you said, the person that inherited it ain't gonna care. But all they're looking at is the money.
well,
But I worry about the farm that's next to that farm.
Yeah,
The drainage that has to
That guy-
proceed through it.
That's
that
why
guy
we
is
build
gonna have to
protection.
keep an eye on it.
We
Say,
gotta
hey,
have-
now
we've
we
gotta
got
build
the drain
protection.
goes through there. He's gonna have to let them know. A lot of this is gonna be on the individual guy that farms it. He's gonna have to keep his eyes and ears open. And do what he can to mark stuff.
But our ace is they don't get permission to move on until they've identified that mutual drain. That's our ace.
even a private drain.
Private, you know, a mutual
can-
private drain is carrying water off that other farm through their property.
Right.
They cannot block that off. They can't destroy it. The water has to flow. We know that's part of state law. We have to just build it into our checklist. They are required to mark it, know it, and if they have to relocate it out of there.
But it
That's-
says in
that's
that
what this
ordinance,
If
if
it's there.
done.
But we can go past that. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'm the guy from Apex putting in the solar farm. Well, I talked to the owner and they don't say there's any ditches. So, okay, I don't know there are any ditches go through there. But Raymond Farms beside me, and he jumps up and said, no, wait, there's a big one goes right through there.
Therefore, they
And then
have
when you
to.
put a pulse down through it,
I still say.
you have a suck hole, you'll know it's there then.
It's my guesstimate that you guys don't like 7, you're going with 4.
That's why we sent 4 back to them. Yeah.
But there's still some modifications on 4, the owner of original condition, the owner to near original condition so that not to impede the flow of water.
And that needs
We
to
don't
be,
want to go back to the original condition.
that needs to be modified to say equal to or better than. Because original condition, yeah, 120-year-old tile, we can't replace it.
There you go, there you go.
That's understandable.
But when he had pictures of Wendell with the ditching machine and the rock conveyor, okay? And 75 foot is not gonna handle this thing, okay? I mean,
Time you get all the equipment in there, it gets pretty cluttered
Yeah,
with
that's
everything,
it.
and 75 feet on each side of the tile is not unreasonable.
and I see no problem us changing that 75 foot. I know that's a state code.
Well, that's for center of tile, each direction.
That's, we can change it to 100 feet in this here for a solar deal. And I don't think there'll be a problem. I know this is all a money deal. Okay,
What I would suggest, Kenny, is that we keep it at the 75, but again, then we play off an economic development that says, while the drainage board says, state law says 75 feet, the economic development agreement that says you're going to come build it and we're going to let you, we put the 100 foot in there and make it further than even what the drainage board says. Does that make sense? Because
I understand what you're saying.
if they go, we're gonna rely on state law, and state law says 75 feet. What you're saying is, we recognize and we're maxing the whole 75 feet. Then the elected officials in their negotiations could come and say, we recognize the state law says 75 feet, but we want 100 on each side.
Well, that comes back to the drainage board when they come to the drainage board, okay? This is gonna be a very, very important deal on final approval on this thing. But I talked that to Alton Carr with Apex, and he's a pretty sharp boy. And he seen no problem with going to 100 foot, okay?
I think that protects us because we aren't requiring, we can't require more than what state law requires. We can require less. But in a contractual economic development, if we want to say 100 foot, we want it 100 on each side of center, then we can make that. And if they don't want to sign that, it doesn't go forward. Again, what Mr. Wright was saying, we can put special options in with this economic development that says, this is the way it is, or it's not happening.
But on this, these tile were problems. And I don't, it'll surprise me. I think you tried to tell me that they would come in and put in new tile. But you take like on that, tile over north of, two of them north of Swayze is over 120 years old. And, the one, we got raised to 10, the first one, the circle tile, we got raised to $10 an acre. That don't raise no money when you're doing this $500,000 to $700,000 project. And then when you go on down to the next one on down there, that's gonna take, 700,000 plus, and it's at $1 an acre. And we got support to have a hearing on that now. But these people come in and said they was talking the possibility this thing might not be shovel ready for 4 or 5 years, didn't they?
That's right.
You know, and there's a lot of permits that need to be. And the question was about if these outfits sold to a power company or something like that, could they eminent domain ground? And they said no, because they go through a 100 megawatt or whatever. That's the size of it'll stay. So probably the first. Now, I know of 4 over our way that's signed up that is not, doesn't live around, okay? All of them is over tile. One of them is south of Sam's, and there's 2 tile in that field. And both tile, if you remember, 4 or 5 years ago, we had those people from Sam's.
Mhm.
They come in here and was trying to get them to raise, I think we got them to raise it a little.
Not much, but a little, yeah.
And that woman says, you know, one of the women says, well, when it rains hard, I have to lay pallets out on my sidewalk so I can get out to the road, okay? Didn't want to spend no money. And you can't shut those, well, the county highway had to come over there with their,
They did some work, yep.
and clean out some tile so they could get that thing operational. And we're gonna have to identify these. We're gonna have to be on this thing strong.
You know, tree roots were in the way. Bragg worked out there too.
Yep.
I don't think she has the problem like she did, that used to.
Still got problems over there. Not as bad.
And then, like you said, north of Swayze, we don't want earthen mounds around a lot of it, and I'm sure they don't want to put them in if they don't have to, but that's all sheet flow over there, so all you'd want was trees for a buffer zone. You know, maybe if they want to put, you know, an earthen mound to hide some of it around the subdivision or something, but so much of our county depends on where they go, but the flat part of the western part, we have sheet flow through these areas that Kenny's talking about. We don't want a pile of dirt at their property line hiding their solar panels. That water's got to flow off of the flat field to the next flat field.
But we'll have a petition in here on that Lumbo tile,
Yeah,
to raise it. I don't know what you're gonna, you know, what you need to raise it to about 100 and a half an acre, okay?
right.
There'll be some in there.
Even $10 is still band-aiding it
Yeah,
to keep them going.
yeah, it don't do nothing for it, okay? You know, but I'm on putting them in, I got quite a few acres I could put in the darn thing, but I'm not going to, because I tell you what, if we don't do this thing right, if this bunch here does not get this thing right, I don't have no kids, but these younger kids coming up that wants to farm, they're the ones, we don't take care of it for them. You know,
Be there.
I mean, it's our fault.
If I could say one thing.
Sure, Steve.
Hey, I'm absolutely taking this vote very seriously. Probably the most important vote I've ever done. I mean, I was on the city council for 12 years. And I've never had this big a vote. And we had some pretty good sized votes. But, you know, I want to make sure I get it right. I do. There isn't a doubt in my mind that in my heart, I want to make sure I do get it right for those young people. The young man that was at the APC meeting says, you're all old. I get it. I mean, I am. And so I just, you know, I look at that, but in the same token, I'm looking, the drainage thing is a big thing for me. That's the reason I put it as #1 question last night, is because I think that is one of the biggest things that we got to worry about. Not only for the farms, but also our county roads. Never shared the story, but I was a lineman down in Elwood, and I was getting a call up here in Marion, and I came down 26, and do you remember the water standing on 26 there? I hit a tree. I was trying to get up there as quick as I could because there's no light pole. And I come across there and I hit that and just hydroplaned and started going in front of Smalley's house. I don't know if you know where Terry Smalley lives. I hit that tree, caught the rear quarter panel of my vehicle and stuff, but I was heading straight head on for it. That was back in the late 70s. And so I know how important drainage is. I don't, you know, so I worry not only about the farms, but I worry about our county roads, what that might do for safety for our people. Because we all kind of use county roads a lot.
Well, county roads, farms, these people's houses in the Sims. They don't know anything about drainage, so
Yeah.
we gotta try to help them
Yeah.
out.
Now, when they're signing up for these, Kenny, is the landowners telling them that you can't use all that property? There's a big drainage easement across them, or are they leaving that part
The
out?
people that, these people that inherit this ground
Don't know.
You know?
don't have any idea.
They may start doing their homework and find out there's a regulated ditch that goes to property they wanted, and then they say, we can't
You
use
know, they
that.
may not want that.
Yeah. But like he said, you know, he could use this piece of the triangle on that one out there. He'd leave us 100, he put that 100 foot right on there. Okay, Dalton did. And the engineer, they had an engineer there with them. And he looked this and was asking me questions about this. And he said, well, we can use this piece of the triangle. I said, you need to go down on the south end, away from the ditch. He said, oh, we'll use this piece here, okay? But the reason they want to do it, because power lines right overhead.
And that's one of our highlights here, no underground cut across. We're not gonna let them go through our ditch, so they're gonna have to figure out if they want that bad, they're gonna have to keep it above ground and up on the
Will
wall.
that be fenced off so we have a right to access it at all time, or is it gonna be in the big fence where we need a key to get in the gate?
Well, this is not on us, okay? But I don't know if either one of you guys has been to the airport lately. But there's acres of them down at the airport now.
Mhm.
But
Oh, yes.
all
in- in
under,
the
all under those solar panels, it looks like you mowed your yard.
Mhm.
And I don't know whether he caught it or what. But some of these people, it's gonna be running this off a computer if she caught it. You know, down at the windmills, I'm not sure what just soon had a windmill, okay? It was less ground, and the only problem was the electric cables underneath. But down there, they got a guy that's got a little building over there by Windfall. And I think he's around to check things. But they gave us a spree last night about the fire department would have a key, or emergency management have a key. Okay. They said that they're not worried about their solar panels catching fire. Another thing, they said these solar panels could be made any place in the world. They won't necessarily, there's a place in Tennessee or Texas, Tennessee, and maybe Florida wasn't.
I can't remember.
There was 2 states that's building them, they can't build them fast enough.
Mhm.
So they're getting them from Indonesia, and some other countries, okay?
Which again, a part of the checklist is on the ordinance, no slave labor. So if it doesn't have underwriter laboratory on it,
How you gonna follow?
somebody's gonna have to, Brian. Because that's part of the agreement, I guess.
Well,
Now, down in Randolph County, the weeds are about that much taller, the solar
well,
panels in
that's
places.
like they said.
Other places, they sprayed chemicals that had killed the grass too, which you're gonna need the grass to stop erosion.
You know,
But a robotic mower would be the answer if
well, but
they invest in them.
Unless they
have
get
them.
that sheep, they talk about sheep.
Sheep out there.
you guys could get into this thing that they gotta come in and mow these weeds or whatever, okay? Because some of them, I think they tell them one way and mow one way and then
Mhm.
tell them the other, you know.
I think that the vegetation that they're planning.
But these guys coming in, I don't know who pays the bill at the airport. But if you've seen them,
It's all over.
yes,
Yeah, and I think that's what I heard from all 4 companies last night, is that their intent is to put in low type, flower type, like a ground cover that is, good for pollination. So a lot of butterflies, and I'm no farmer, but my understanding pollinators are very good for farms. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
we also talked about, you know, the herbicides that they may use, and the weeds that come up will affect the farm next to that. And so we want to make sure that they aren't putting anything on that that's going to affect the farmer right beside that particular project. I mean, like I say, I think there's a lot in ordinance 4 that really protects, what we're trying to do for our people. And then again, 4 or 5 hurdles that they still got to go through. And one of the biggest one is get it through the power company that they'll buy their power. They got to make sure that happens. If it doesn't, this is all for naught. So that's, and again, the understanding is that the power company could be 2 years before giving an approval. So, and that's a real reality thing. And I apologize, I gotta get to another meeting, but I do appreciate the time.
Yeah, no, we'll be happy.
Kenny, you going last night and stuff, that meant a lot to me, I know.
I was surprised 26 or 20, 25, 26, 27% of the time is all they generate power. You think, you know, we could go to solar or not solar, but,
Wind,
what's the other?
Wind turbine.
No, wind.
Nuclear,
Oh,
coal,
the gas. So
gas.
Natural gas.
Yeah, okay. Now, Florida's got a problem with that because they're powered with natural gas, and natural gas went from 2 cents to 9.5 or whatever, so.
One last comment I have, and I will
you
go.
know, Yeah,
They stated last night that, you know, the sun comes out through the daytime and stuff. I work for I&M, I know on-peak demand and off-peak demand and stuff. It is true, we utilize more through the daylight because that's when a lot of the factories were up and going at that time. Most of the time at night we're sleeping unless there's a third shift in a particular factory and stuff, but a lot of factories anymore don't have a third shift. So the demand is through the day, and that is when they will be throwing the electric up to the grid. They were spot on with that last night. I thought that was a good point, that they made. So, but again, I appreciate all you guys and what you do. And you are going to play a huge role as we see this whole thing out, if we decide to go ahead and allow this to happen.
I think it's probably gonna happen, but we're gonna have tight rules. on it.
Absolutely.
You know, I just soon not have it. But it's the thing, but if I'm Dalton, I come to you, I want you to sign up, so I'm gonna tell you what you wanna hear.
Sure.
I want you to sign $1,000 deal, okay? You're someplace away, well, you don't know what ditches is on your farm.
Right.
Because you inherited it. And this is where we're running into the problems.
Yeah.
You
I'd like to interject something along the lines of the eminent domain. Between Gas City and Hartford City, there's a railroad that runs, and along the railroad, the electric runs. Well, the railroad kicked the electric out of their easement and made them get their own easement on the south side of the railroad, and basically took the people's property. They didn't give them a choice. They gave them a price and said, here's what we'll pay for it, but we're taking it. So that possibility is there. It happens and nobody even knows about it. Those people didn't have a choice of saying, we don't want to sell you our ground. They were told, we're taking 50 feet of your ground. And here's
did they
that.
buy it or,
They bought it.
so
gave
they
them-
physically own it?
I would guess. They
Yeah,
were giving
they
money
do.
for it.
Because I don't think they probably will just let it go to seed. They won't let them farm it.
I just thought I would let you guys know what I'd heard through the building. Kind of my area, so
want to hit this ordinance page, the solar ordinance, things that we put on there. We put 5, and I've got additions that I want us to look at real quick. That's the one that says 12/14/2021 on it. We've said no solar equipment within the maximum drainage easement, 75. But we also noted after Kenny's dialogue that we can push that through the economic development to 100 feet. So
Each side.
Each side.
Would be 200.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need that each side.
We have 150 feet, right?
Here's the problem you're gonna run into. On that Lumbo tile out there, you can't go in where the tile's at
And be 100 feet away from it.
and get any depth. Okay, cause that thing is washed it's 120 years old, and there's just a stream down through the surface flow. You
Well,
got,
that's- The old timers, they did at least an easy way, and that was less digging. You're gonna have to go outside. that.
Further out so you can make.
we gotta go out
you get
20
that.
feet or whatever, put in a new tile, and then we gotta go over on the other side
Yeah.
and put in a 10, 8 or 10, and see what we got to hook in to the main tile.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, it's,
Regulated drain has a mapped course. And its easement's gonna go with it. If you scoot 20 feet, excuse me, if you scoot 20 feet one side or the other, that easement needs to go out further on the side that you went.
Yeah, the drainage code says the easement does. When the ditch is relocated or the channel's moved, the easement moves with it. Or back.
Number
Of
2.
course, you're gonna have public hearings and stuff
Yeah.
for that to happen.
All in-ground transmission lines must be chained in. And I noted under there, all mutual drains located and marked, drainage. We have to have all mutual drains that, again, we know of, like,
And be willing to fix ones that they discover,
you
Know
know,
of or discovered drains.
because, again,
to reassure the.
Gordon knows where his drains are that he's sharing with other folks.
he may,
And other folks may have no idea at all. So we've got to put that in there. Give me that phrase again. If discovered,
Yeah,
What do you guys think?
that's why you got in it, so you can see what's coming up.
Would it be beneficial to have a public hearing for that location so that the people around it would know it was going in?
that is a good idea.
That way the property is publicly,
If we have a farm in question, we need to have a public hearing.
All the upstream landowners, or at least the
I think
adjacent
that's-
landowners.
I think that's smart.
it's gonna postpone it, but make it more.
But you have 400 or 500 acre, 80 acre, 40 acre fields of 5 different knowledgeable farmers that's been farming for years. It could maybe enlighten us.
Help locate them.
Public hearing.
I have a hard time being quiet.
We'll take that as public comment.
Back there? I need to sit over there.
That's why Hardy would keep him in check.
Okay,
Adds to my problem.
I got a comment too, since I'm talking, your easement could widen with the depth of your grade. If you go down more than 5 feet, you're gonna need more room than if it's 4 foot, 5 foot. Could go up percentage wise if you're go down,
I've seen some guys do private lines that went down 15 feet.
you're gonna need more room because you have more dirt.
Because they were taking it through and redirecting it somewhere else.
That was good pictures Wendell had of putting that 4-foot tile in out there,
Yeah.
what all the
yeah,
equipment takes.
they was, how deep was it down there? Charles?
I don't know exactly what they would be.
Was that with the 48 inch?
Yeah, part of it seemed like he
But it
was
wasn't
standing on the
bad.
tile,
They
and
had
he
to
was
go that
about
deep
level with the
to
ground.
get
Yeah,
the
it did.
grade.
Brown out the drag with a
That's the one I got
big
hanging around.
backhoe first, and then go look at this.
Now, you see, ours says it on number 3, any mutual drains or private tile damaged by installation and or installation equipment will be repaired equal to or better than current existing structure. So that's our setting. The ordinance is going to have to be amended to reflect that.
To equal or better than. Don't want to equal, 180-year-old tile, we don't want it equal, we want it,
Well, again, there's nothing on the market that they can get that would be equal to a 100-year-old tile.
well,
It has to be better than.
Well, they just put in a new piece of plastic or wherever,
Yeah.
you know. Just that. But our problem is, we've raised a bunch of drains. With 16 or 20, we've raised the assessment on, okay? And we've got another batch that needs to be raised,
Got a lot yet, you know.
okay? And the problem is, the days, times of raising these, it's not a $2 or $3 or $5, $10 an acre to replace them, okay? It's $100 a year.
Yeah, then we raised Oak Hill to $35 and that was a tough sell.
Well,
And it was like
what the
$5.
second time?
Right. I think it was $3.
All due respect, but they don't know how to work with the drainage board, so I don't feel bad for them at $35 an acre.
It needed to be about what, $200 an acre is what we needed to redo it.
Well,
That $35 is still a Band-Aid
Mhm.
fund.
at that time, I had the state highway up there. I had my hands on him, you know, and since then, he's went someplace else. So then you gotta start over somewhere else, because that guy called me and wanted to know. He said, "Do you want to cut?" He said, "You want to cut it or you want to bore it?" I think I come back here. Well, when we had that hearing, they didn't want to spend the money.
Mhm.
So, you know, it doesn't make any difference. But to get the state to tell you, you can do either one.
Well, they're still gonna flood someday. That 4-foot pipe going to the ball diamond, the 336s at
You
the
know,
back
well,
driveway. It's gonna overtop that, go in the parking lot. It's went in the lagoon or sewage. I mean, that's gonna happen
If
again.
that flows down to Pipe Creek, so what? You know, they had their chance.
We've done an hour. Let's finish this up and see if we've got other things we need to add. Number 4 is the company field representative has to clear, do a walkthrough with surveyor or representative and sign off acknowledgement by the company agent on the, basically, where the easement is. And then we don't have it, but it's standard operating procedure. They have to show us a water retention plan if needed. They're gonna do a water retention plan. We have to approve that. That's just,
Well, that'd be in their drainage plan.
yeah, should be. We mentioned the no underground cut across. Those were the additions that I've noted to those 5. So is there anything else that we've missed?
There was, when you get back to 4, you know, I've read some done lots of this stuff, I forget where I'm at, getting old. But there was one of these had a 6-foot, they had to be 6 foot under with a wire, I think, 3 foot.
5 foot and 3 foot.
That was draft 7.
That's in 7.
Okay.
That wasn't recommended by us. No.
What was the reasoning for that?
Well, you had to be 6 foot or 5 foot, okay, it ought to be 6. And then they had to have a wire in there so
To locate it.
you can locate it.
Okay.
They do that on public utility, don't they?
Yeah,
Sometimes
natural gas or,
it's already a wire, so they'd be able to locate it, but what they want to know is when they're getting close.
well,
Okay.
yeah, but
So there's a ribbon that they'll bury 2 feet above it.
Mhm.
When you hit that ribbon, when you cut that ribbon, you know,
They're going to.
yeah, you know you're 2 foot above or whatever, 18 inches above. So it's only there as an indication. show up when you're there.
Because they're gonna be across some of our ditches,
Yeah.
under whatever, I mean, that's just, they
Yeah,
can't help
And
it.
you know, like across the 40, I don't know where the Lumbo wall exists. There might be such a thing as if maybe they could do some paying out. We might need to do some test holes with backhoe,
We don't have to.
located a bunch of places.
What was Lumbo?
They,
You won't have trouble finding it.
well, I know it's got a lot of suck holes and clay chips and stuff, but there could be some out there that they probably would, and I don't know, it needs to be in the ordinance, but they would probably go to the expense of doing that just so they know
Well, that's.
what's more
be-
practical.
It's on them, you know.
Yeah, there's something that says they have to find them.
Right.
So any mutual,
Okay.
they have to.
I don't know how we're gonna protect the private.
You aren't,
Yeah, I mean, they're,
other than if the farmer knows where it is.
Yeah, the water starts setting dead. you
and
know,
most
they're
likely,
supposed
you know, they're gonna, if they're chaining in stuff out there, they're gonna pull up that,
to clay
that
tile.
private ones.
Yeah, clay tiles they're almost all clay. There's
But
some
this-
that are private plastic, aren't there?
This is not a matter of putting in a solar panel here and the ditch goes through here and, oh, well, like, Emily said, you can come out and around it. It's just not done that way. These old timers get awful close on grade
Mhm.
on this
Yep.
stuff. And
And whether or not, I'm sure that they're learning that, whether they've gotten into understanding Indiana fall or not. It's a lot different in North Carolina and South Carolina and where you've got rolling hills and stuff, and you know, that's where the water goes. It's an entirely different animal up here. They know. All right.
do we need to have at least a 6-month moratorium? But the drainage board need to suggest a 6-month moratorium on this thing or a year
You,
to get this thing right?
depending on your vote, you can recommend it. It's in the commissioner's hands, and I don't think that they want to head that way, but you can suggest it if you want to.
Well, I'll make a motion if we have.
I'll second that motion. That's how much I think we need to.
How long? 6 months or a year?
6 months is a Band-Aid, but I guess that's better than nothing at all.
There's a motion with support. You want to discuss it?
Yes. I think we. A moratorium, maybe the solar companies will. Don't want them to back out, but I want them to know we're not gonna be an easy pushover.
The only problem we got is Indiana Westman out there. Well, we put that one in right away. And I don't know how we control that. You may,
Well, it's in the county. So it's going to be under our purview. That's not city.
Okay.
So is this gonna affect private solar fields as well as ones going into
Mhm.
commercial?
Mhm.
Because the utilities will be interested in solar too,
Mhm.
especially now with Biden and his
Yeah.
incentive. But that is, those aren't fields that will ever get sold. Those are fields that are reducing our electric costs.
You know, one of the guys out, I forget who he was, out at the fairgrounds was talking about all the empty land in the city of Marion, like, you know, the big concrete pad up here, I forget what the name of that factory was. ORCA, the Malibu, all them blocks out there that's empty.
Malibu will be a super place to have one.
Yeah. Oh, active products.
But there is a ditch goes through that because window keeps it, goes through and makes it work, so,
But this doesn't affect, you know, the city could still put those
He's
in.
on the
couldn't
west
it?
side of the,
Pat, could the city still put those in if they wanted them inside the city limits?
but that's what they done in Kokomo World.
City jurisdiction is different than county. So that would be,
Yeah, could somebody go ahead and
But-
put one in now before the ordinance goes through?
No, they're not receiving any. There's no,
There's no permits they could get.
no, because everything that,
So like if I wanted to put one on my
They-
house, I could because I couldn't get a permit.
right now, we have no ordinance, and anything right now that would be done, you would have to go through an area plan and a BZA meeting, and basically the BZA presented the draft 7, which is more restricted than 4, so most likely they would get denied.
Mark,
If any,
Ryan, you want to kick in?
yeah, if I could, residential, solar is mandated by the Indiana Residential Code. So for our ordinance, anything that is 1 acre or less would be considered residential. So, you know, they can come in right now for residential, 1 and 2 family dwelling, and do solar without it affecting our ordinance at all.
It's good.
I mean, our ordinance for the most part includes residential, more for the zoning for like solar arrays will be installed as accessory structures for those setbacks and stuff, again, for 1 acre or less. So it doesn't affect that. It's anything over 1 acre or more that would be affected by a moratorium,
Good. Thank you.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.
We want to do Gordon here.
Yes.
What's your recommendation to commissioners? Have a motion with support. You want to discuss it anymore? Okay. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? No? Staying? Did it go 4-1, 3-1? What was it?
4-1.
Aye.
4-1?
I vote for, 4-1, yeah.
All righty. That was me.
You abstain?
No, I said no. Righty. We will pass that on to the commissioners, and we still have new business under, no, we don't. And we don't. We took care of Aaron Newby. Other business, Jim?
No.
But this side note, the surveyor is gonna have to really be involved checking this.
So does the farmer.
And a farmer,
Yes.
farmer and surveyor.
Not the landowner, the farmer,
Right.
okay? Because the landowner
Might not be.
inherited
There is a
thing,
diff-
and has
there's a
no idea what he got, okay, or her.
Right, to the farmer, he may be a farmer this year, but somebody else is next year, but you gotta try to.
It depends on how technical or complicated it gets, the dredge board with a vote. Could, if the maintenance fund of the individual area was large enough, we could hire an engineer to do some consulting to help me out. I wouldn't want to take all the responsibility on my shoulders, but just, you know, just a double check.
Mhm. That's fair. We do that with bridges. We do that with other structures, so.
And remember, gentlemen, you also have application and permitting fees put in place to help if we would have to go and hire outside help.
Yeah, I think,
Good.
yeah, it'd be better not to charge it against the ditch itself. We can take it out of that
Yes.
fees for some consulting and from time to time on, you know, they're all gonna be different. Know where they're gonna go.
I remember sometime we had a deal, we ate it, very important, ate it on the deal. One. Can't remember you remember that? Okay, I can't come up.
What now?
We had to eat the fees that we,
Yeah.
because we didn't think about it. I don't remember what the procedure is now. I can't, you remember what we were thinking about?
Was that eating the fees on a loan or?
No.
Like engineering fees on something that they didn't have approval for the maintenance or something of that nature.
I can't remember.
I can come up with some other time, but I just can't think of it right now. But yeah, I remember.
Okay.
Are we ready? Johnson,
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion, please. Sure.
Second.
Motion with support, Mr. Gates, Mr. Cox. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It was carried. Thank you.
I appreciate the thing that we've got. And this is big, this solar thing is big and great.
Last night they was talking about taking care of it because they
Because I got
make
the drains that,
what about?
he could have done the farm,
The road. There.
and I know where they're at.
I can't, at least
And I thought,
I don't know, you're wrong. And I don't know that you do.